Hello and welcome to our webinar. I'm Emma Martins, the head of community partnership at Theresa Street, a nonprofit focused on helping other community members in the South Coast through meaningful and fun and engaging events. This week we are partnering together with Learn to Cope and Tyler Joseph Leonard Memorial Foundation for our next up and coming event, which is a golf tournament, September 17th at Achusnet River Valley Golf Course at 1 p.m. If you're not already registered for that, check that out on our Instagram page. But before we get into those details, let's meet who we are here with today. Who would like to introduce themselves first?
I'll go.
Thank you.
Joel Baptista. I'm a board member on the Tyler Joseph Leonard Memorial Foundation. We're a newly established 501c3 nonprofit in early 2022 in memory of my nephew Tyler, who died by suicide a day before his 30th birthday in 2018. Our mission is to promote mental health awareness and suicide prevention.
Thank you. Joanne, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Joanne Peterson, and I'm the founder and executive director of Learn to Cope, which is a statewide family network. Actually, it's become a little bit national now too. And we support families that are dealing with addiction and recovery and also grief. And we do have a meeting in the South Coast area in New Bedford. So we're very grateful to Theresa Street. They've chosen us before, and we like to just support the families in the community that are dealing with this at home with support, education, resources, and hope.
Thank you. Kim and Carrie, anybody would like to introduce themselves?
Hi, I'm Carrie Walsh. I also work at Learn to Cope. I am the social media and events coordinator. So I kind of handle different activities that are happening with us. I'm in a lot of communication with folks like Theresa Street, and thank you. You do so much work for the community. We host, I guess we do host several events, but one of the events near and dear to our heart is an annual trip to Canopy Lake for kids who have been affected by this opiate epidemic. So it's a great event. We have a huge turnout, and without sponsors and partners like you, those events wouldn't happen. So thank you. Happy to be here.
Last but not least, right? So my name is Kim, and I am the operations and marketing coordinator for Learn to Cope. I've been with Learn to Cope for just a little over, almost 6 years, I guess. Wow. I help Carrie and Joanne with fundraising and marketing. I'm the regional manager of our Quincy meeting, and I also live on the Cape. So we just recently opened up our third location, the Falmouth Family Resource Center, in August. So I will be helping to promote and get the an in-person meeting there, as well as other activities. So I'm just happy to be there, and thank you to Theresa Street for all that you do, and for all you guys out there fighting for mental health. It's an uphill battle.
Definitely is. So in terms of Learn to Cope, could you talk briefly on what are the areas that you service and how does that service look like? So I know you talked about virtual in your new center. What are some other ways that families and relatives can get support?
So one of our most important is overdose education and prevention. So it's educating families on how to recognize an overdose and how to revive them. And we also are a pilot for the Department of Public Health, where we give out nasal naloxone, which is otherwise known as Narcan. And we offer that all over the state. So a family member, sometimes that's a spouse, child of, or sibling, or parent, or grandparent, that may have someone at home that might relapse or come out of incarceration or come out of treatment when their tolerance is low. So we've had over 200 saved. So that's a very significant thing that makes a difference for families in the area. And I know our New Bedford groups have, they've used Narcan on their family members over the years. And also education. We do a lot of education by guest speakers. In the past, we had 2 very well attended educational conferences, and that's for community and family members. We've done online webinars, which have gotten a lot of registrations. And I guess one of the most important things as well is it's confidential and everything's free. No one has to pull out a insurance card or a wallet. They can just come to any of our centers, any of our meetings, and not be treated or, with judgment or stigma. And they'll get help. Back years ago when I went through it, there wasn't any help. And now it's great to see people come in, that are really distraught. And then you see that same person a month later and they're smiling. They have new people to talk to help them. And we see a lot of hope and recovery too. We also sadly, deal with a lot of people that lose their lives. But we support both families in recovery, or if they're struggling, or if they have loss.
That's awesome. Joel, I was wondering if you could speak a little bit more on what you guys are all doing at your foundation and where your money raised is going and what communities you're working with.
Sure. So we're working with the South Coast communities. We're based out of Dartmouth, Mass. Again, as I mentioned, our mission is to raise monies and promote awareness towards mental health and suicide prevention. Our second annual fundraiser is coming up this Saturday, September 9th, over at Allendale Country Club. Last year's fundraiser allowed us to present New Bedford's Child and Family Services with a $10,000 check for their CBAP program, which is an inpatient facility for kids ages 4 to 18. And they just built a brand new facility on Church Street in New Bedford, and our monies went to a quiet room for these kids where they could decompress when they were having different issues. So happy to do that. We also gave out a scholarship to a Dartmouth High School senior from our first annual fundraiser, Laura Novo. And then already this year, we've given out 4 scholarships to Dartmouth High School seniors in preparation of our second annual fundraiser. And we've aligned with Caleb Joseph of the Self-Help Tour, and we've started a speaker series with the local high schools, which we just kicked off last week at New Bedford High School. We had over 300 students and faculty attend. And his message is about mental health awareness and finding your true identity, and aligns with us because we know it starts young, and we have to hopefully address this problem before it becomes too late, before someone says, this is how my story is going to end. We don't want it to end that way. So we had New Bedford High School, we have Dartmouth High School on board. We're going to be there in October. Fairhaven High School's on board, and we've reached out to a couple others as well. So we're looking to get into all the high schools in the South Coast this fall / winter, and pass that message to them.
That's really important, and it definitely doesn't just start at the high school level. I know it can go all the way down to elementary school nowadays, especially with the social media exposure. It is really, really sad to see children feel the way that they're feeling at such young age. So mental health is so important. So we thank you for what you're doing and going into these schools. It's super important.
Yeah,
Okay,
thanks.
back to you guys. Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
We, to your point, we're just trying to break the stigma. We're trying to get people to talk about it. It's a tough conversation to have. And you mentioned social media. You can put a meme on social media and it'll get 100 likes. You mentioned something about mental health or suicide prevention, and there's crickets. And we just want people to know, there's help out there, obviously, and it's okay not to be okay. You can speak up, you can share your thoughts.
And I think especially nowadays we have big faces, big celebrities kind of sharing out and just doing the same sort of thing that you guys are doing, which is really important for these kids to see because like you're saying, the stigma is so high. And I'm sure over at Learn to Cope, you also are dealing with the stigma of drug abuse and all of those sorts of things that really you're just kind of, everybody's just kind of there to show like we are who we are and we face these problems and it doesn't discriminate.
Mhm.
Learn to Cope. I was wondering, I read on your website that you guys have been at it for 16 years. Is that accurate?
Actually, almost 20 years.
20 years. Okay.
That needs to be updated, I guess.
I could have had that number wrong. So I was wondering if there were things about the community that surprised you, that help keep you going, that are like this community really does rally around certain things, any sort of information like that. Like how have you continued to push on in such a hard field for 20 plus years?
Well, 2 of our team members are on this call here, and there's 17 of us in total. So sadly, this epidemic grows larger every year. So that's what keeps us going, is because there's such a need. And it's also mental health too, you know, like we're talking about on this call. And when somebody's son or daughter becomes addicted, sometimes they blame themselves right away and they think, what did I do or not? Did I do too much? Did I do too little? So one of the first things we like to do for parents and family members is tell them it's not your fault. There is hope. You're not alone. And, you know, as I said earlier, offer the education and hope, but also resources. People learn about resources very quickly once they start attending all of our meetings. And we also offer them in Spanish, which is on Zoom, so people can join from anywhere, which is great. We even have people joining from Colombia, but because people have family in other countries and they're letting them know. So it's a safe space for people to join. But, you know, there are groups that rally around us. In any family really that goes through this, but there's also stigma is still very much there. So, you know, you see someone pop in and they're just sort of shy, or they don't want to turn their camera on a Zoom meeting because they don't want people to know what they're going through at home. So, you know, it's the same thing with suicide as well. And mental health is people start internally blaming themselves, and then they're afraid everyone else will think they did something to cause this person to feel that way, to use drugs, or to sadly maybe even take their lives. So our work just never ends. It just always, there's just a huge need out there. We need more and more and more people to get involved. So,
Definitely.
and our team is fantastic. It's amazing the work that everybody does and the support that everyone gives our people.
Definitely. Kim, would you like to speak on your new facility down the Cape?
Yeah, and one thing I do want to just say too, to kind of back up what Joanne was saying, is we've evolved so much over the last 5 years that I've been here, right? And the need when COVID hit and we pivoted to online, and just seeing that the support that people get and the friendships that now form across the state, across the country, and even outside of the country, but also incorporating self-care, like Joanne's, you know, dream of having a retreat came to fruition this year. And, you know, people were able to sit in a space and just relax, learn about meditation, writing, just self-care, taking care of themselves. And by taking care of themselves, they're better prepared to take care of their loved ones. So I can't say enough about how the self-care is, you know, and teaching that to kids now in schools is just so, like, it doesn't have to be a pill. It can be meditation. It can be mindfulness. So that's my soapbox, because that's something I'm very close to my heart. But the center is really exciting. It's right near the ferry, so it's accessible to people that if they want to come off of Martha's Vineyard. It's going to be used not only for meetings, but a place where people can come in and talk to our staff, get resources. We're also going to do some classes, I think, right, Joanne? Like, you know, just self-care, teaching them self-care, whether it's creating a piece of artwork or, you know, learning mindfulness. I know we have yoga in the studio now. So we're still, we're still building on it, but it's going to be a center, I think, for the community to come and walk through those doors. It's a very calming place, very, in keeping with the Cape. So it's going to be just a safe space for people to come. And I think it's very much needed on the Cape because there's not a lot of stuff for families, and it is a family disease. And I think bringing that message to people that we become just as sick as our loved ones.
That's
You know,
awesome.
Carrie
Thank you
might
for
have some
sharing.
too.
Carrie, would you like to speak a little bit on that trip that you had mentioned that caught my attention when we first logged on? You mentioned the Canopy Lake trip. So how do you qualify for that? Who gets to go on that? All are welcome sort of deal?
Yeah, basically, if you are a Learn to Cope family member and have little kids, actually up to age 18 or 17, and you've been affected by substance use disorder in any way, we provide passes so kids can get into the park with their chaperone or parent or guardian. It's a full day. And it's the feedback we get from families. It's amazing. It warms our heart, and we're just so happy to do it. A lot of kids who maybe live in families that aren't affected, the kids come back from summer break and they're talking to their friends about how they went, on this trip to Disney, or, we went on a family trip to New Hampshire, whatever. Some kids don't have that, they don't have that story to tell, that they haven't maybe had those experiences during summer break. And it's nice that we can give them that. If anything, one fun day to play at the water park, go on the rides, eat the food, see other kids, and our family members who do know each other have a chance to get together to do something other than to see each other on a meeting. It's a nice experience. So I think this year was it our 6th year?
I think it was our 6th.
I think so. But it's special. It's just a special day.
That's awesome. Sounds like a lot of fun. So whenever I host these webinars, I always ask, and if you don't know, feel free just to say you don't know yet, but I always like to ask how the funds that Theresa Street will donate to you will help impact your program. So how do some people plan on spending it on a new building or other things like that? So if you already have an idea of that, feel free to share it out, just so our donors and our community knows the great impact that they're going to have on your programs.
So with the
Yeah,
oh, I'm sorry, go ahead. You can go.
Nope. Thanks. Yeah, so I mean, we're going to just continue with our outreach to the South Coast communities in regards to, promoting the mental health awareness, the suicide prevention, the stigma that comes with it. We're going to continue with our speaker series. We're going to open up our scholarship in Tyler's name to all the South Coast high schools this upcoming year. Previously, Tyler was a Dartmouth High grad, so we just had it at Dartmouth High. But we know it obviously touches more than just students at Dartmouth High, so we want to make them aware too. So we've opened that up to the South Coast. But really just trying to get people to talk. That's our goal. Talk about how they're feeling, letting them know that it's okay not to be okay, that there is support out there for them. We found out, in our speaker series on Tuesday at New Bedford, which we kicked off, how much these kids are really holding inside. I mean, it took one kid to speak up, and then it was like an avalanche. Everybody had something to say. Be that one person. Whether it is to speak up or to encourage someone to speak up.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
So we haven't really talked about what we'll do this year. Last year we teamed up with the Y and we gave gift certificates to grandparents raising grandchildren for Y memberships. so that they could get some respite and so that the kids could either join basketball or, you know, swim in the pool, activities like that. So we teamed up with some agencies in the area and found the grandparents, and the commission to the status of the Commission on Grandparents Raising Grandchildren. That's what they call it for the state. We got in touch with them so that we could get in touch with grandparents in that area and reach out to them and offer that to them. And, you know, I'm just kind of thinking maybe this year we could do some sort of event, and, you know, maybe we could even team up with you and do some sort of awareness on mental health and substance use together, or something. You know, we'll have to get creative, but we will definitely use that money towards the community. And Patty Conant isn't on this call, but she runs our New Bedford meeting. She can also probably do focus groups with people that go to that meeting and ask them what they think would be a good idea on something we can do for the community. You know, last year it was for grandparents raising grandchildren. Maybe this year it's for, you know, some sort of drive to put toy bags together, or, you know, we could get creative. We'll do something special, just not sure exactly what it'll be yet.
That's awesome. Thank you. I appreciate you guys telling me that. I always love to hear it, because as donors, people just kind of donate, or people donate and they don't realize that their entry fee is going towards these donations. So it makes it so much more tangible to hear how that money is going to go back into our community and make such a difference in so many people's lives. So thank you for that. Okay, before we wrap up for the day, I just want to ask one more question. And Joel, you kind of touched on this when you were last speaking, but if you could give an elevator pitch to everybody watching and everybody listening on how to support you and how to support the community better with your foundation and with your organization in mind, what would that kind of sound like?
Yeah, I think, you know, it's to get the word out beyond our circle. Because it affects everybody, a wide range of people, no certain demographic. So we're just, you know, we're thankful to Theresa Street, obviously, for their donation, but also for their partnership in promoting the foundation to kind of get our message out there. You know, is social media, people can just share instead of kind of falling back from it and being scared of it, you know, share away. We are just trying to touch as many people as we can, and being new. Again, it's, you know, we seem to be touching the same circle, and we're looking to branch out, because we've got a good thing going over here at the Tyler Joseph London Memorial Foundation, and we're just getting started.
Definitely. Joanne, what would your pitch be?
You know, I think what comes to mind is if you know of a family in your neighborhood that's hurting, instead of avoiding them because you don't know what to say, actually go up to them and say hello, say their person's name if they lost their person, ask questions about their person, because a lot of times people think that it would upset somebody to ask about them, whether they've either passed away or they've been in trouble and might be incarcerated or something. When a family is in crisis like that and hurting, they tend to avoid talking to people because they feel ashamed. But if a hand on the shoulder goes a long way, or if you run into them in the grocery store, instead of going the other way because you're not sure what to say, just say, hey, how are you? Thinking about you. Just be kind, you know. And if you feel comfortable enough and you say, you know, I'm sorry about your loss, if it was someone that, you know, or use that person's name, because no one ever wants their person to be forgotten. And I just feel like a lot of times people just don't know what to say. So I think that's a big one.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much. Well, I don't want to take too much of your time, so I want to thank you all for joining us. Anybody who's watching, if you haven't donated yet, head over to theresastreet.org and look for the donation tab on our page and donate so that you can help fund both of these amazing, amazing programs that are doing incredible work here in the South Coast and beyond, right? So we hope to see you all out there on September 17th, not August, that's flew by already, August 17th for our Theresa Street Open. And again, that's at Achusnet River Valley Golf Course. All the golfers out there, there. I will see you then. Joel, Joanne, Carrie, and Kim, thank you so much for joining me. I had a blast talking to you and learning all about your organizations. And again, thank you so much for the work that you are doing. It is so meaningful and important in our communities.
Thank you. And thank you, everyone at Theresa Street. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Yeah, thank you.